I grew up as a ranch kid in Jack's Cabin Valley and on the Ohio Creek Valley where my family's home ranch is. You know, we lived outdoors. It was wonderful. It was, you know, fields of waving grass and horses and dogs and irrigation ditches to wade in and ice skate on in the winter, and you know, cousins and grandparents, and it was ideal. It was absolutely ideal. And it was work too. There was definitely some hard work during haying season when they would hire crews of men to help them. When I was young, there was very little mechanization. So as a girl, I would help in the kitchen, helping the mothers and grandmothers cook. And then we would clean, and we would do all of the things that are required to keep an operation like that kind of moving. And it was hard work, and it was always good to go back to school in the fall. The whole area has become smaller as growth and development has moved in, and the ranchers have been squeezed a little more into a corner, and that's changed their whole world and changed the face of ranching with different pressures. I think our ranch will continue on for a very, very long time because they're invested in it. We're all in the same place where we want to see the ranch continue as long as it can. So I think that's where it is right now, and as long as additional generations continue to do it. It's tough though because it's the cattle business, and when you have a cattle business in an elevation like this, you can't diversify and do much more with it. You can't grow crops. It's too cold here, it's too high, and so you're pretty much stuck with cattle.
My great-grandfather came here along with my grandfather as the miners. And then my grandfather, he started a dairy, had a dairy right there in town, right across the street from the fire depot. And raised milk and cheese and delivered, I think my father and his sisters delivered milk through Crested Butte. And then, you know, the mines were going, and then the mine stopped. And I can remember as a kid, my brothers and I, we'd start at the house right down here, and we rode ponies every day, and we would get on Highway 135. We'd ride all the way to Stephanics, go in, get a nickel ice cream cone, get back on our ponies, start riding back, and never have to get off Highway 135 for traffic because there just was no one here. And, you know, and that's when, you know, there was a rumor going around that Crested Butte was going to be a ghost town, and it scared me to death because I never wanted to leave. I don't want, you know, you needed to make a living here. You couldn't ranch though. Just didn't have the numbers to support a family, so he went in the construction business, and so I followed him in the construction business, and we bring cattle up in the summertime, not to raise them or anything. We use them more for my use, and that is to raise cutting horses. And we raise a lot of cutting horses. So that's what we do. I mean, you know, we do the cattle because of the cutting horses, and strictly because of the cutting horses. If I didn't have cutting horses, I don't think we'd have cattle here. It's just a tool that you have to have in order to ride these horses, and I love riding these horses. So, you know, my hat's off to the ranchers in this valley. It's a lot of work, and they work hard at it. And, you know, Bill Trampy putting that into a conservation easement, I just don't think the community really understands what he did for this community. It was a true gift to this community, and hats off to Bill for doing it. And I think what he protected is just invaluable.
The ranching community, especially in the East River Valley, between Gunnison and Crested Butte, was really augmented in the early part of the 20th century when the European families who'd come to Crested Butte for mining changed their family resources over to agriculture and bought many of the ranches, and for 100 years have persisted in the agricultural business and agricultural community. When we finish our current projects, 50% of the ranch land in Gunnison County will be under conservation easement, which means it's still privately owned by the ranch families. They have all their rights except to subdivide and develop their property. So it keeps their land intact and a resource base for agriculture, which is important for the future of ag here.
Without willing landowners, conservation can't take place. And so having a mechanism here locally, represented by local community members, not outside interests, makes all the difference in the world.
We're in the cattle business. We raise cattle. We have ranches here in Jack's Cabin and in Crested Butte. And
My mother talks about coming from Texas in a covered wagon and walking most of the way. And those were not easy days. You have to look like a girl, act like a lady, think like a man, and work like a horse. And that seemed to work quite well.